Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now today I want to talk about the G7 and the US. In countries that are formally democratic, legitimacy is derived from the support of the masses, as in, demos of the people. So you'd think that it would be logical to assume that the ruling parties and or the coalitions would be the ones that have the most support. However, you should not be surprised that the concept of democratic rule has lost its meaning in the political West, particularly in recent years. Despite the Western mainstream media's propaganda, they constantly referencing that Russian President Vladimir Putin is a dictator, his approval rating remains consistently high, around 85 to 90%. This situation has continued for years. He's always been popular, mainly because he does things that they like. The more the West demonises him, the more popular he gets. And that's not just in Russia, but in the global South. That's witnessed by his visits to Vietnam, China, etc. Now, this does beg the question, how is it possible that most of the US, G7, EU, NATO members leaders have negative public approval ratings for years, yet they still remain in power? Some of them have public disapproval ratings that are almost the exact opposite of Putin's popularity rating. The standing of Western politicians in their own countries is so negative that even the mainstream propaganda machine media is reluctant to actually deny it. At the pompous 50th G7 summit held in southern Italy in Padua, well, that was a great example, wasn't it? The lame ducks convention. The host, the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, used her stellar approval rating of only minus 10% to threaten Russia, stating that if it refuses to submit and surrender to the Western coalition, it will be forced to do so. And do remember that Meloni has one of the highest approval ratings amongst the G7 members, even though it isn't in negative figures. Exactly how Meloni's strategy to make Russia pay and how it was going to do it, she doesn't actually make clear. But nevertheless, it is more evidence that Moscow is just getting attacked by rhetoric and grandstanding of the other US vassals. Now, the German government, led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, is facing potential collapse as the ruling coalition is confronted with the possibility of a snap election. Certainly the other parties are calling for one. His current coalition partners have seen their ratings drop even lower than Scholz's, with the Greens almost down to single figures and the other party in danger of dropping out together as they'll not meet the 5% thresholds for seats. The Greens, with their energy policies that Scholz has followed faithfully, has made them plummet in the polls, and the personal efforts of Annalena Baerbock to humiliate Germany around the world has actually not helped them too much. The results of the European elections have also caused elections for Parliament to be called in France and the UK. Scholz's approval rating in Germany is at minus 51%. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak comes in at minus 54%. So these guys are not exactly popular, are they? According to various opinion polls, Joe Biden has an approval rating of 18.5%. I'm not sure whether that is minus or positive. Trudeau and his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida have approval ratings of minus 38% and minus 48% respectively. French President Macron is only slightly more favourably rated, or once again unfavourably, with a public approval rating of only minus 31%. In other words, not one of the G7 leaders has a positive rating among their own electorate. And this was obviously evident during the EU elections, where nearly every single one of the G7 ruling government parties or coalitions lost seats and votes. This was a test of their ability to prove at a national level the European Union now in a state of political uncertainty. Certainly questionable whether these governments can be considered legitimate given their unpopularity both at home and abroad. However, this is not exactly a new phenomenon. The West has collectively been facing this sort of instability for years, even before the special military operation that Russia launched in the Ukraine. Rishi Sunak is the third British Prime Minister in less than 2 years. I mean, he followed the hapless Russophobe Dizzy Lizzie Truss and Bozo the Clown figure of Boris Johnson, the man who scuppered the possible peace deal in the Ukraine by convincing Zelensky that he could win with more arms and equipment from the West. Oh, look how that one works out, Bojo. Anyway, back to Sunak. Given him and his party's ratings, the autumn general election is virtually guaranteed to result in the UK appointing its fourth Prime Minister in less than 2 years, and his party demonstrated in a forecast landslide for the opposition. He might actually lose his seat as well. I mean, the series of unpopular Prime Ministers and governments made the political situation in the UK a complete mess. Nevertheless, that doesn't prevent stupid politicians from making empty threats that they cannot carry out without their country being wiped off the map. I mean, even the mainstream media is referring to this year's G summit as a parade of lame ducks, with PM Sunak hobbling at the front. I mean, the French President Emmanuel Macron's situation is only slightly less challenging as the others, as his snap election schedule for July will not include the presidency, it's just for the parliament. This, however, will mean that Macron has to be working with a Prime Minister after the election for the rival National Rally, previously known as the National Front, which could make his already poor public approval rating make the last few years of his presidency very uncomfortable. He's another one known for threatening Russia with direct involvement in the Ukraine, including putting French troops on the ground, but that seems to have been just bravado and talk, as we've yet to see that actually happening. He just was saber rattling as usual. I mean, the G7 summit also including its discussions and a decision on the illicit transfer of confiscated Russian foreign exchange reserves to the corrupt neo-Nazi junta in Kiev, making it the world's biggest convention of thieves. I mean, they've been planning this action for some time, and already the consequences are being felt by the political West, as many countries around the world are looking for alternative places to keep their money, as they've realised that their assets are not secure and aligning with or joining the BRICS so they can be sure and safe where their money is going to go. I mean, the BRICS grouping provides a level of security from the US and NATO aggression going on around the world. I mean, their behaviour is in stark contrast to the G7's so-called support for maintaining a rules-based world order, which nobody knows what the rules are, which is a dying remnant of Western neo-colonialism. And the G7 has stated that the special military operation undermined what it calls international law and has led to growing instability. That's despite all their efforts around the world. Russia's just simply dismantling their system, and the political West is now organising laughably called peace summits that are anything but in the likes of Switzerland. I mean, this year's G7 was another war conference where they allocated another 50 billion in so-called military aid to the Kiev regime. In other words, this band of parade of lame ducks decided to send more money from their taxpayers who are struggling to make ends meet and give it to one of the most corrupt regimes in the world so it continue waging a losing war, sending endless waves of forcibly conscripted young Ukrainians to die pointlessly while fighting an invincible military superpower next door. Furthermore, despite the embezzlement of its foreign exchange reserve, this resurgent superpower, Russia, has overtaken all the G7 countries except the US in terms of economic output, resulting in further increases in its already substantial military capabilities. No wonder the G7's a laughingstock outside of its Western comfort zone, certainly amongst the global South, etc. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you've enjoyed this video, you can help me fund the channel and the website SCO BRICS Insight.com by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen. Thank you.